Hey, Void. So, a little bit of a stressful day, so I need some stress relief. So, I decided to pick up one of my favorite bloodbaths, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I actually recently just got this collection, so I before had everything on DVD, so upgrade. And it was good to see this one again. It's been a long time since I've watched through the Nightmare series, and it still hits that sweet spot for me. Now I've kind of fallen off the wayside for getting through my Friday the 13th reviews, got a little distracted, and I was starting to look into the Child's Play ones also. I'm going to keep diving in and try to get through all those. Halloween is another one I was dipping into a little bit, but that one I actually don't have all of on hand, so it's a little trickier, but I'll do what I can. But it was time to hit A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, I've seen this movie countless times. First, I saw this when I was, sheesh, I don't even know if I was in high school when I saw this. I think I was still in middle school, or even younger. Shit, I was like sixth grade, seventh, something like that. Well, this one freaked the hell out of me when I first saw it. I'm not gonna lie. When I was a little kid, Nightmare on Elm Street scared the hell out of me. Yes, the series does get campy and is hilarious later on and downright terrible at other points. But the original actually does carry a good chunk of fear to it. It's especially if you're younger, it's a twisted little film, and I love it. Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger just hits it away for me every time. All right, so 1984, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Wes Craven, and essentially the movie that launched New Line Cinema. Apparently, before this one, they had like one other direct-to-video movie that did nothing. So New Line Cinema, for a while, was referred to as the house that Freddy built. Okay, so a bunch of kids realize that they are, and then all start having nightmares, and realize that there's some odd similarities between their nightmares, particularly the man that is harassing them in theirs, having the same sweater, the same hat, and the same claw glove. And when one of them dies, is in a manner that was she was describing in her dream. Despite her boyfriend being there, now the cops all assume he's doing it, but the kids who are having the nightmares, aren't quite so sure. I mean, some think he did it, some think something else is going on, but Nancy, our lead, is sure that the man in their dreams is more than, well, just a dream. And as the bodies start piling up, she may be right. As Freddy Krueger, the boogeyman with every serial killer has pretty much claimed the boogeyman mantle now. Both him and Michael Myers seem to contend for it, but then Freddy was a child murderer who, after being killed by a group of parents, is now years later appearing in the dreams of their kids to get revenge and to, well, keep his body count rising. This is before Freddy started becoming the quippy one-liner dropping monster that he became in the later editions. He was definitely had a sense of humor, though, and was deliberately doing everything he could to freak out the kids before delivering the final blow. Wes Craven is beautiful in this, and it was actually the first role for Johnny Depp as well. So it's weird how young he looks, and he's completely unrecognizable. If you don't know it's him, you won't pick him out. And Heather Langenkamp is great as our lead Nancy. So the gore effects work very well. There's one or two things that do look a little cheesy. Like the initial claw swipe on Tina, yeah, it doesn't look too much like its skin. And Freddy, when he's doing his initial arm stretch thing, looks cheesy. But that's a minor thing. A lot of the other effects hold up very, very well, like the Tina appearing in a body bag and being dragged around, or when she's thrown up onto the ceiling and dragged across there. That looks good. Uh, Glenn being pulled down into his bed and the geyser of blood coming out. There's some really cool effects in this. Yeah, the staircase that they get stuck on, you can see the spots that they're supposed to step in to become soup in advance, but it's clear the original Nightmare didn't have that great of a budget. But what they did a lot with it, and the practical effects do hold up very well. For me, the original Nightmare, it's an iconic slasher. It's pretty much, for me, the three big ones are always Halloween, Friday the 13th, and Nightmare on Elm Street. And Nightmare on Elm Street, for the longest time, was my favorite of them. Lately, I think I do favor Halloween a little bit more, but this movie does still have that 80s charm to it. Since both the other ones are much older films, this one I think does breathe some fresh life into things. I was surprised that Candyman didn't even come around until the 90s, so... But is a good successor to the slasher mantles. This one, for me, it's a 10 MacGuffin movie. It really is. It's fun. It's scary. I know a lot of people will be scared by it these days, but for me, it scared me back then. The effects, great, and just the Freddy glove is just so iconic. For me, it's a must-see horror film. It's a very nostalgic one for me. I remember watching through I think the first 4 or 5 of them with my father. Just kind of my thing, just to go rent some horror films. And Friday the 13th was kind of, or not Friday, it was one of the big ones that started, but Nightmare on Elm Street was the one that stuck with me the most. It was one that, because I know we didn't even watch that many of the Friday series. It was maybe the first 3. But Nightmare, we did at least 4 or 5 of them. I think 4, because after that is when was when the drop off. I think my dad knew when to call it. I mean, me, I love bad movies, so sure, but yeah. If you haven't seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street, it is worth a look. I do highly recommend it. Otherwise, it's always worth revisiting. So, have a good night, Boyd. Gonna be enjoying watching through this series again very much. See you later.